So today I thought we'd reflect on the fact that the world is probably ending pretty soon. Okay, that might be a little extreme, or not. Honestly, I do think there are signs everywhere that the end is nigh. I mean, let's look at the situation.
Exactly. The end is nigh.
I hope I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. Do you know what? I always say, expect the worst and hope for the best. And while reflecting upon this thought, I came across a video called What If Independence Day Had Actually Happened? I'm going to suspect this is the television movie Independence Day. It was a good movie. The sequel, I didn't even watch it. It looked so bad. And now I'm going to throw an Irish curse at you, where I would beseech you to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the algorithm things. Otherwise, it's not my fault, but an Irish curse will befall you. And that curse will be the next time you're urgently looking to sign a document for somebody who's like going, you know, move along, your pen won't work. So awkward. But you can avoid that curse if you like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things. Okay, here we go. I'm actually really psyched for this because I just love apocalypse things.
Foreseeing humans as pesky vermin to wipe off the map, aliens sure seem to care a lot about destroying our most precious landmarks on our favorite holidays. This is a scenario that played out in the movie Independence Day. But past all the explosions, cheese, and grandiose 90s American hell yeah redneck kamikaze into a spaceship glory of the original film lies a terrifying scenario of an unstoppable force that wiped out pretty much every major city on the planet. If you were an average bystander, the events of the first movie were less about heroic fighter battles and more like this. So what would be the actual ramifications of this massive alien attack? What if the scenario laid out in the Independence Day movie happened in an alternate timeline? Aliens attack. Aliens blow up. Spoiler, you had 20 years to watch it. What does this alternate 21st century look like?
Okay, so yeah, it's really plausible. We are not the only... It's arrogant to think that we're the only life form out there of the gajillions of planets and solar systems and all the things we haven't discovered yet. And I really think we are just like little dots, little bugs in the universe, inconsequential floating particles. When you look at it that way, your life doesn't have any meaning. I'm going to go back to the video, but yeah, aliens exist.
If you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you've watched or at least familiar with the plot of Independence Day. Long story short, in 1996, aliens, as in these type of aliens, show up in massive city-sized spacecraft over major world cities and destroy them all with super weapon lasers. Pretty bummed, but hearing that damn inspirational speech, the world unites on the 4th of July with America to take out the aliens. Bright, prosperous future. End movie. Now, according to the official website, the studio timeline details the events following the attack. World cities are rebuilt within a few years. Humanity unites for a single goal, and alien technology is adopted within 15 years or so. Now it's great XCOM shows up, but it isn't the most entirely realistic scenario. In this alternate timeline, you may not see these ever. According to Roland Emmerich in interviews in the official prequel book, 3 billion people died in the War of 1996. In 1990, the global population was around 5 billion. So 3/5 of that died in around 2 days. According to the official website,
a lot of people.
over 108 cities across the
Probably
globe were annihilated in those 2 days as well. 500 million people immediately killed in that first wave alone. With a worst case scenario, if nobody even evacuated any city and just stood in place, only 1 billion people would die across the world. So what does this mean? Well, we could have a case of Hollywood just throwing logic to the wind, using numbers without research. Or the aliens killed 2 billion more people off screen in the first movie.
So I always think when it comes to like aliens targeting places in America, like, yeah, you're like pretty much, you either are gonna save us because you're so big, or like you're gonna get blown up first. I always think places like Ireland, pretty inconsequential. We're either going to just get hit by a tidal wave that comes off of somewhere else, or they're just not going to even notice our whole country because we're so small. So yeah, either quick death for us Irish, or you know, they just missed us.
How did they do this? I don't know. Ships maybe, pew-pewing everything. The feeling after the war is less like Victory Day in Europe and more brief sense of relief knowing you survived, but also staring at the ruins of your home after a tornado killed everyone you love. I know, dark. Since the aliens focused on large urban sprawls, The majority of people killed are in North America, Europe, and East Asia,
Look, they got
including
Ireland,
India
no.
and Indonesia. North America has a population of roughly 500 million people. Europe 742 million. East Asia has 1.5 billion. So to reach around 3 billion, we'd need a decent chunk of each region's populace to go too.
Oh, no.
History is filled with examples of how population loss transformed societies. The Black Death helped an overpopulated Europe and allowed for social advancement. Smallpox absolutely destroyed the pre-Columbian civilizations. Instead, this time of Native Americans being wiped out, it would be the most industrialized nations. People are a pretty important resource. They
the
provide
world is
labor,
good.
buy goods, farm food, and pay taxes. Good job, people. So losing them is very devastating. Keep in mind, many of the cities destroyed in the first wave were capitals, centers of the government, heads of state. Bureaucracies
Not
are
the
already
worst
hell
thing.
in an emergency alone. Now imagine if every single one blew up at the same time.
I mean-
Line of succession, authority, control over the populace, all go into disarray as each major country loses their heads. After the war and victory, this is the problem right off the bat.
Potential for a
What
better
is left of the
rebuilding.
national governments, if there is any left, have to deal with an assorted mess of issues, including the largest humanitarian disaster in history. Millions across the world are wounded, sick, and orphaned. Millions of citizens need immediate service. Just this simple
Starbucks
rebuilding
is
disaster
yummy.
in itself would require Marshall Plan level efforts. But this time there isn't an eagle in the sky to save anyone, as the eagle just got shot down by aliens.
Yeah.
By destroying these cities like LA and New York, you aren't just killing a lot of people and blowing up monuments in the coolest way possible. You're wiping out centers of economy, ports for trade, heads of global companies, especially as global trade has most likely come to a halt. Why? The fact 3 billion people died. With 3 billion less people, that means you no longer have enough workers to properly sustain society.
Like,
At
that's
best,
literally the
everything
last
comes
year.
down to a standstill. At worst, complete collapse. Global
People
trade,
looking for
if
their
it is
Amazon
even
deliveries.
existent, would be minuscule compared to pre-1996. As seen lately, just one change to the economic balance of the world has catastrophic repercussion. In this alternate timeline, an alien attack just destroys the global economy. It never can recover. Western society of pre-1996 comes to a screeching halt. The dollar, euro, peso, every currency collapses. Everything is about immediate survival. In a realistic scenario, humanity is less united than ever before. World War II and
Could we
globalization
be less
crafted
united
a
than we
world
are now?
where we are more united than any time in human history. An alien attack removes all of this. Survivors, left unaffected by the destruction, still need to sustain themselves. Intellectuals and politicians would be planning for the next invasion, using whichever resources they have, but the main problems are economic uncertainty, instability, and refugees. Civilization isn't destroyed, it's just smaller, less complex. The United States still exists, in theory, but in reality it'd be controlled by states, largely trading with one another. In cities across the globe, urban riots occur over the lack of supplies. Some people are simply shot down by police and military forces left standing after the war. In this alternate timeline, no cities are simply rebuilt. No country would have the capacity to take such an undertaking in cleaning it up. Instead, they just move capitals to other cities. While in the movie, the president is able to make it out alive, Congress, the Supreme Court, and every federal department did not. The United States would have a tough time voting back in a new government, and even then, it would never truly be like it once was.
Is that a
In
bad
the
thing?
official lore, humanity
Say it.
easily rebuilds after a few years, keeping the same nations and even progressing in technology. In this alternate timeline, after the war, no country remains stable. Some, however, remain more
Would
stable.
you move
than
the little
others.
red
Those left
thing
pretty
off
much
Ireland
unaffected
there?
are South
They're only
America,
little.
Africa, and Oceania. So in this alternate timeline, after the Great Speech and hacking Hillary's servers on the mothership, what is one possibility that humanity could truly be like after an alien invasion? Lesser, more divided, but not like The Road or Walking Dead. At best, life simply stagnates, and rural people make the more out of less. But for the rest of the urban world, anarchy and unrest are prominent in the following years. The UK, France, and Germany all lost 4 of their most important cities. If your lifestyle depended on global trade and the existence of a prosperous market, then you're in for a bad time. Humanity didn't go extinct, which is great, but it faces an alternate, convoluted 21st century. If you are hoping for a world of adopted alien technology and moon bases, well, I'm sorry. You don't go from half the species dying to spacecraft in just a few years. This doesn't mean the aliens aren't important. every human on Earth would be deeply and personally affected by the attacks.
Sure.
The attacks forever leave a mark on humanity, comparative to World War II with the Russians. And while people wish to come together to ward off future attacks, personal interests and conflicts simply don't allow it. It'd be a useless fight anyway. Well, if the aliens did return, like in the sequel, the world simply ends. Humanity doesn't have future weapons to fight back. It has picket signs, hunger lines, and local produce farm 10 miles down the street.
Yeah, the apocalypse
because
is
gasoline
gonna be
practically
boring,
non-existent.
I think.
Aliens simply destroy the remaining 2 billion humans and colonize the world. This is simply one scenario. There is no true way to know what would have happened had something gone differently. This is Aliens, by the way. But it's fun to theorize. What do you think would have happened had aliens truly attacked during Independence Day?
That was interesting. I feel like it neglects to look at all the upsides. Let me embellish.
Honestly, I personally don't feel any explanation is needed.
Okay, so obviously, a lot of people you love would die if you survive. That would be not good. Also, getting not as much food and supplies, that would be not good. But blowing up all the governments and having to start over, potentially good. Am I wrong here? I mean, I really think we could start from scratch on that whole thing.
It's a mess.
Let me know what you think. Do you think it would be such a bad thing if we had to start over? I mean, there are some upsides, right? Let me know below in comments. A couple of interesting shoutouts today. The first one goes to Jim Ross, who would like to thank my friend Katrina for coming to Spain and engaging in fun activities while consuming Prosecco as needed on Patreon. We could get some very fun videos over there. Thank you, Jim. The next person I want to shout out is Kurtis Chopty, who actually wants to say thank you to Chewy for being such a wonderful floof. Fluff on, Chewy. Fluff on. And that's it for today. Let me know if you think the world ending would be such a bad thing. Only some of it would end, not all of it. See you on the other side. Bye. So I was trying to put something on the screen that was relevant, like an Easter egg, but now I feel like it looks a little like narcissistic. And I think like there could be something good, like I could put something good up on the TV, but not me. That just seems wrong. Give me ideas. Also, I think the way I've done the lighting, Chewy looks a little bit like the Phantom of the Opera. But I can't tell if I love it or hate it. Stupid YouTube ads. Please watch them. And whilst I was reflecting upon this, I came across a video called What If Independence Day... The dog distracted me. He's leaving, he's left, he's gone. He's watching the TV.